let's explore the pattern fair sharing of costs and benefits. Uh, I will read the heart, a little description that's on the card and on the webpage, and then do a bit of exploring and discussion of it. So, the outcomes of much human activity are shared, for better and worse, often in unbalanced ways that generate unfair harms, feelings of entitlement, and denials of the fruits of contribution while interfering with social and ecological feedback dynamics. So support fair distribution of individual and collective benefits and hardships to maintain healthy living systems and foster collective wisdom. One of the really interesting things about this is usually in terms of, what's fair between people. People are disadvantaged or made unhappy, and this is very important, particularly if you want to have broad benefit. In the long term, what we're going for is broad benefit over long periods of time. But there's some interesting social dynamics that are overlaid on top of that. There's a book called Collapse, which looks at collapses of civilizations in the past and what happened and why they collapsed. And one of the things that is noted in there is that the elites of those civilizations tend to have oppressive dynamics on the people, and particularly environmental systems. They tend to absorb more environmental stuff and create more environmental damage, both personally through their lives and through the policies and how they govern the societies that they're running. And that this breaks the feedback loop of experiencing the effects of your actions. If you do something that causes harm and you experience harm, the feedback loop is completed, and there are corrective mechanisms that are built into that feedback loop, so that if you experience the harm that you're giving, then you have some second thoughts and you may do it differently to have less harm. But when that's broken, privilege tends to insulate you from experiencing the negative effects of you and the larger systems that you're part of. And so that is, at a larger societal dimension, that is one of the things that destroys the civilization, destroys the society, quite in addition to what's happening to the individuals that are experiencing what's going on. And you could define privilege as taking more of the benefits and exporting, exteriorizing, externalizing the costs. So the polluting factory polluting factories for some reason tend to be located in places where poor people live. They don't tend to have polluting factories in upper class neighborhoods. And part of this is then that's out of sight, out of mind. People with privilege, the very fact of having privilege means you don't have to think about or experience certain things that are unpleasant. That's what privilege is all about. But those unpleasant things are happening somewhere to someone, either people now or future generations or taxpayers, because the government has to come clean up whatever the mess is. So that dynamic of breaking the feedback loop of the costs and the benefits. To what extent can we balance out and have all the entities that are involved experiencing both the costs and the benefits? There's a way in which it would slow things down. It would make the dynamics collectively and individually healthier. And that has a broader benefit and a longer term benefit than simply this person or these people are being hurt or helped or preferenced. And one of the other things is that if you have the benefits, it's like you get the benefits of an investment, private investment. You get the benefits of investment that gives you power. You have more money to use, and concentrations of wealth enable concentrations of power. So you can buy media, you can buy people, representatives in government. You can give people favors that then they owe you back. You can get power by having money. And that's very different dynamic than a community bank or shared ownership of things, which allow the benefits to accrue to the community. It's not like there should be no benefits, but the idea of having the benefits be channeled overwhelmingly to individuals distorts the whole structure of society. And there are imbalances that are created in that way that magnify. They feed back on themselves and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And from a systems perspective, the system can't hold that. There's a point at which it starts to fracture, it starts to come apart. And so if you want long-term broad benefits, this is fundamental to achieving that. Two quotes that I ran across that are interesting manifestations of this. One is, "He who takes the benefit must bear the burden." Interesting rule of thumb. And then sociologist John Rawls said, "A just society is a society that if you knew everything about it, you'd be willing to enter it in a random place." So would you be willing to live a random life in a society? Just sort of, you'd be assigned a random place, somebody else's life, and you could live it. And if the society is just, you'd be more willing to do that than if it's very unjust, and the chances are you'd get put in at the bottom of the barrel.